You're listening to The Deep Dive with Mike and Mandy.
All right, everybody, get ready, because today we are taking a deep dive into the history of Halloween.
Halloween.
You think you know this holiday,
right?
But I bet you don't.
Oh.
We're going to peel back the layers of this holiday and go all the way back to its surprising origins over 2,000 years ago.
Wow, that's a long time.
It is.
That's a lot of history.
It is, yeah.
And I think you'll be surprised to learn that it wasn't always about candy and costumes.
Right.
The roots of Halloween are way more serious.
Yeah.
Way spookier than the fun-filled night that we know today.
So to get started, we have to go all the way back to the ancient Celts.
The Celts.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, that's the folks who lived in what is now Ireland, the UK, and parts of France.
Right.
So what was their deal with Halloween?
Well, for the Celts, October 31st was like their New Year's Eve.
Okay.
But with a bit of a supernatural twist.
Oh, I like it.
It was the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter, a time when life literally got darker and colder.
Yeah.
So not only did they have to stock up on firewood, but they also had some serious beliefs tied to this time of year.
And this was called Samhain, right?
It was called Samhain.
Okay.
And it wasn't just a party.
It was serious.
It was a serious sacred festival.
Yeah.
The Celts believed that on the night of Samhain, the veil between the world of the living and the dead got really thin. Really thin.
How thin are we talking?
So thin that spirits could just wander through.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Spirits just roaming around.
Roaming around.
That's a good reason to stay inside.
That's a really good reason to stay inside.
So what did the Celts do about these wandering spirits?
So, you know how today people will leave out a bowl of candy for trick-or-treaters? Well, imagine leaving out a plate of snacks for your grumpy great-aunt Mildred.
Okay.
Except instead of Mildred showing up, it's a spirit who might be hangry.
So that's where that whole thing of leaving out offerings for the spirits came from.
Exactly.
It makes sense.
It was all about keeping the peace and avoiding any bad luck.
Don't want to make those spirits mad.
Don't want to make them mad.
Yeah.
And speaking of not taking any chances,
the
Celts also wore costumes.
Yeah.
Made of animal skins.
No, I always figured that was to scare the spirits away. Yeah. You know, be like, boo, get out of here.
It wasn't really about scaring the spirits away.
Oh, really?
It was more about blending in, disguising themselves as spirits.
Interesting.
So that the spirits wouldn't recognize them and try to cause them any harm.
So it wasn't the look at my cool costume that we have today. It was more like, please don't eat my soul.
Yeah, please don't eat my soul, Mr. Ghost.
So to recap, the Celts were hiding. They were leaving offerings.
Leaving offerings.
They were not messing around.
Not messing around.
But they didn't just hide from the spirits.
Right, right. They also had a way of fighting back.
They fought back.
They did.
How'd they do that?
With huge bonfires.
Okay.
And they lit these bonfires, not just for warmth, but to literally scare away any evil spirits.
Wow, so Halloween for the Celts was like a whole different level of anxiety than we have today.
It was a night of power, of fear, and of deep respect for the unseen world.
I can't even imagine.
But then along came the Roman Empire with their own gods and festivals.
Yeah.
And after that, Christianity began to spread across Europe.
Okay.
And with Christianity came a whole new approach to those old traditions.
So did the church just come in and say, okay, guys, new rules for Halloween?
Well, not exactly like that.
Okay.
But they did have a knack for kind of taking local customs and giving them a Christian spin.
Right.
So by the 9th century, November 1st was declared All Saints' Day.
Okay.
A day to honor all the Christian saints.
I see where this is going.
And the night before,
All Hallows Eve.
All Hallows Eve
became Halloween. Very clever.
Very clever.
So it was a way to kind of absorb those pagan vibes into the Christian calendar.
Exactly.
But did everybody just go along with that?
Well, the problem was that people were pretty attached to their old ways.
Right.
So even though the church tried to give Halloween this Christian meaning, many of those old customs just kept going.
Yeah.
Things like lighting candles for the dead, telling ghost stories, that feeling of spooky mystery.
Yeah.
It all stuck around.
So Halloween became like this mashup, a Christian holiday with a pagan heart.
You got it.
I like it.
That's what makes this so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like this cultural recipe where the old ingredients don't disappear. They just blend in with the new ones.
Right.
Creating something totally unique.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've got this holiday, Halloween with like a split personality, right? It's part Celtic, part Christian, and it's all about like navigating the spirit world.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
Yeah. But how did it end up in America?
Well, it basically came over with those Irish and Scottish immigrants back in the 19th century.
Okay.
Bringing all those old world traditions with them.
But I'm guessing America wasn't exactly ready to embrace the spooky side of Halloween.
Not quite.
Especially in those Puritan colonies.
Especially in the Puritan colonies. They weren't exactly known for their love of parties, little known spooky parties.
So what happened?
Well, they saw Halloween as a little bit too pagan, a little bit too close to those old ways that they were trying to leave behind.
Yeah.
So for a while, Halloween was pretty low-key in America.
But those traditions had to come out eventually, right?
It did.
Yeah.
As immigrants, they couldn't keep that spooky spirit down forever.
So what did they start doing?
Well, they started carving pumpkins.
Okay.
Sharing those chilling ghost stories.
Yeah.
And they started hosting parties with music and games.
Okay, and this is where we get to mumming, right?
Ah, mumming.
Yeah, it's like the weird older cousin of trick-or-treating.
That's a great way to put it.
Like, what even is that?
Well, mumming basically involved going door to door in costume.
Okay.
Reciting poems, singing songs, even acting out little plays.
It's like early Halloween karaoke with costumes.
Sort of.
Okay.
But you have to remember that those like deep-seated fears about spirits, they were still lurking beneath the surface.
So it wasn't all just fun and games.
It wasn't just about entertainment.
Okay.
It was also about appeasing those potentially troublesome spirits.
Oh, right.
You know, giving treats was a way to ensure good luck.
Yeah.
To kind of keep those supernatural forces on your good side.
Especially on a night like Halloween.
Especially on Halloween.
It's pretty amazing how something that started out of fear could transform into something as sweet and innocent as trick-or-treating.
Yeah, it really is.
So Halloween is starting to look a little bit more familiar now, but it still seems like kind of a far cry from the mega holiday we know today.
Right.
So when did Halloween make that leap?
Well, I think the turn of the 20th century was a really major turning point.
Okay.
Halloween started to shift away from those individual, sometimes chaotic celebrations towards something more community focused, more family friendly.
So it went from like every self for themselves to let's have a block party.
Exactly.
I like it.
Towns started organizing parades and parties, making it safer, more inclusive.
And the costumes started to change too. Right?
Yeah, the costumes started to change.
Like how so?
Well, instead of just trying to blend in with the spirits, people started embracing characters, monsters, public figures.
Oh, okay.
It was all about creativity and fun, not just avoiding bad luck.
Yeah. And this is where trick-or-treating really takes off, right?
Yeah, this is where trick-or-treating really takes off.
No more singing for your supper, just show up and get candy.
Exactly. By the 1950s, trick-or-treating became the Halloween tradition, especially for kids.
And with that, Halloween basically completed its transformation from a holiday that was all about fear to one that was about community, fun, and of course, candy.
On candy.
And let's be real, once the candy companies got involved, Halloween was destined for greatness.
Absolutely. The rise of the Halloween industry, that's a whole other chapter in this story.
So costumes, decorations, haunted houses, all that spooky stuff.
Yeah, I love it.
Created a massive market.
A massive market.
And Halloween has become the second biggest commercial holiday in the U.S., right?
That's right.
Right after Christmas.
Right after Christmas.
It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
It is.
And it's only getting bigger.
It is.
But it's not just about the money, right?
No, it's not just about the money.
I think Halloween has this really unique ability to tap into something primal in us. That fascination with the unknown. The thrill of a good scare.
Exactly.
So Halloween is not just a kid's holiday anymore.
No.
Adults are really embracing it too.
They are.
And I think maybe it's a chance to kind of recapture some of that childhood wonder. Or maybe it's just an excuse to like let loose and have some fun.
Yeah, and to be a little bit weird.
A little bit weird.
A little bit spooky, a little bit out of the ordinary.
Exactly.
And that brings us to another really fascinating chapter in Halloween's evolution.
Okay. What's that?
It's global spread.
It's not just an American thing anymore.
It's not just an American thing anymore.
Halloween is like going global.
Halloween is going global.
So Halloween has gone from this small Celtic village
Mm-hmm.
to a worldwide phenomena.
That's
impressive.
It's amazing.
So how are other countries putting their own spin on Halloween?
Well, take Japan, for example.
Okay, Japan.
Halloween is huge there.
Oh, really?
Especially among young people.
Wow.
It's like massive costume parties in Tokyo,
Mm-hmm.
people going all out with their outfits, embracing that festive atmosphere.
So even though they don't have that like historical connection to Halloween, they've really embraced the fun, creative side of it.
Absolutely.
And what about Mexico?
Mexico.
They've got Dia de los Muertos.
Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead.
Which takes place right around the same time as Halloween.
Right around the same time.
It's always seems so vibrant and unique.
It is.
So how does it connect to Halloween?
Well, Dia de los Muertos has its own distinct origins.
Right.
It actually shares some pretty intriguing parallels with Halloween.
Really?
It's a time when families come together to remember and honor their deceased loved ones.
So it's not about trick-or-treating or spooky costumes, but it still has that same connection to the spirit world that we see in the very beginnings of Halloween.
You got it.
It's about that thin veil between the living and the dead, that sense of honoring and remembering those who have passed on.
Exactly.
That's really beautiful.
It's a beautiful example of how different cultures, even across vast distances, can share really similar ways of approaching these themes of death and remembrance.
It really shows how Halloween, even though it has these very specific origins, has evolved into something that can resonate with people from all walks of life.
That's the beauty of cultural exchange. You know, traditions evolve, they borrow from one another, they find new ways to connect with people across time and space.
It's really cool.
And Halloween is just a prime example of how a holiday can transform, spread its wings, and become something truly global.
It's pretty amazing, right? We started with these ancient Celts trying to appease spirits with snacks. And now we've got this global party with costumes and candy.
It really is remarkable how much Halloween has changed.
Halloween is proof that traditions can evolve, adapt, but still keep that core essence,
Absolutely.
It makes you wonder what Halloween will look like in the future.
Yeah, what other tricks did this holiday have up its sleeve?
Right. I mean, who would have guessed that carving turnips would turn into inflatable dragons on the lawn? Well,
if history teaches us anything, it's that Halloween is full of surprises.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll become even more global, you know? Maybe we'll see it merging with even more traditions.
Yeah.
Maybe even a space-themed Halloween someday.
This themed Halloween, I love it.
Correct.
But maybe we'll also see a return to the roots, a renewed interest in those ancient Celtic rituals.
Right.
And the deeper meaning of this night.
It's definitely possible.
Yeah.
In a world that's so dominated by technology, maybe we'll start to crave that connection to something bigger.
Yeah.
To those mysteries that are beyond our everyday lives.
Right. Halloween allows us to actually tap into that primal fascination with the unknown.
Exactly.
It's we need that little bit of spooky mystery, even if it's just through costumes and decorations.
Right.
Halloween gives us permission to kind of explore those darker, more mysterious parts of ourselves.
It's a chance to step outside of the ordinary, embrace the fantastistical, confront our fears, but in a fun and safe way.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe in doing so, we discover something new about ourselves and our relationship with the unknown.
Well, one thing's for sure, Halloween's journey is definitely not over.
It's not over.
It's a holiday that continues to reflect our ever-changing culture and our enduring fascination with all things spooky.
And that's what makes it so captivating.
Yeah.
Halloween speaks to something deep within us. Something that goes beyond candy and costumes.
Right.
It connects us to the ancient past and to those mysteries that lie ahead.
This has been a really awesome deep dive into Halloween.
It has.
So thanks for taking us on this journey through time.
My pleasure.
It's been a treat exploring these spooky origins with you.
Likewise.
And to all of our listeners out there, as you're carving your pumpkins and putting on those costumes and enjoying all those Halloween treats, just remember that you are part of a tradition that has been evolving for centuries.
We'll leave you with this final thought.
Okay.
What does the evolution of Halloween from its ancient roots to its modern celebrations.
Yeah.
Tell us about ourselves.
Right.
And our relationship with the unknown.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween.
Welcome in, everyone. This time we're doing a deep dive on the Salem witch trials.
Oh, spooky. Perfect timing.
Yeah, Halloween's right around the corner. But, beyond the spooky stories and all that, we got to look deeper, right? See how fear, suspicion, it can turn a community upside down.
You hit the nail on the head. To really get Salem, 1692 Salem, you got to understand what they were living through.
Right, the context.
Exactly. Imagine. Small village, isolated, Puritan.
Oh, yeah, the Puritans.
Strict. Life was tough. Winters brutal. Disease. Conflict with Native Americans. Always a threat. Anxiety and uncertainty just seeped into everything.
Okay, so life's hard. It's scary. And then you've got the Puritans themselves, right? Their beliefs.
Intense.
The devil wasn't some abstract concept to them. Very real.
Oh, absolutely. The devil was working against them, tempting them constantly. So anything bad that happened
had to be the devil's work.
You got it. Misfortune, unusual behavior, must be Satan.
Okay, so that's the backdrop. And then two young girls, Betty Paris and Abigail Williams, they start acting strange.
The Reverend's daughter and niece, no less.
Adds to the drama for sure. Fits, screaming, contorting. I mean, can you imagine?
Terrifying. And back then, medicine wasn't exactly advanced.
No, not at all.
Mental health, barely understood. And childhood illnesses.
Yeah.
Could be deadly.
So doctors can't explain the girl's behavior. Someone says witchcraft.
Bingo. And for the Puritans, this wasn't some silly superstition. Witchcraft was a serious crime, a threat to the community, to God.
Wow. So if you were accused?
Big trouble. Not something to be taken lightly.
And who were the first accused?
The most vulnerable. Tuba, a slave in the Paris household. Sarah Good, homeless. Sarah Osborne, elderly, didn't go to church much.
Easy targets. Outsiders.
Exactly. Scapegoats. They became the focus of all that fear and anxiety and the trials. They were anything but fair.
How so?
They were pressured to confess, to prove they were innocent.
But that's impossible.
Exactly. It's like proving you're not thinking about a pink elephant. How do you do that?
You can't. And then there's this spectral evidence, right?
Ah, yes. Chilling. The belief was a witch could send their spirit, their specter, to harm others. Didn't matter where their body was.
So you could be accused even if you weren't physically present.
Yep. Someone claims your spirit is tormenting them.
That's evidence against you.
Sadly, yes. And how do you disprove that? You can't. Anyone could be accused. No defense. So anyone could be accused. No defense.
Sounds like things got out of control pretty quickly.
Oh, they did. It just spiraled. Accusations led to more accusations, like a chain reaction.
And to save themselves.
Yeah. Pointing fingers. It wasn't me. It was her. That kind of thing.
Fear and paranoia just feeding itself.
Absolutely. And the consequences were real. Over 200 people accused.
Wow.
Imprisoned, ostracized, some even death.
The terror, just the thought of an accusation ruining your life.
It was a terrifying time. And the legal system. It didn't offer much protection.
So the trials were just shams.
Pretty much. Rushed, biased, and with spectral evidence, how could anyone defend themselves?
Yeah, you said it. So what happened to those accused? Were they all executed?
Not all, thankfully. Some were imprisoned, some fled, some were eventually acquitted, but 20 people were executed.
For witchcraft.
In Salem, yes.
20 lives. Because of fear, superstition, a broken system. That's heavy.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about some of the people who were executed?
Sure. One of the most well-known, most tragic cases is Giles Corey, an elderly farmer. He refused to plead guilty or innocent.
Why? Wouldn't that give him a chance to defend himself?
He knew if he pled guilty, his land would be confiscated, his family would have nothing. Yeah. But he also wouldn't plead innocent. He thought that would be a lie in God's eyes.
A lose-lose situation. So what did they do to him?
They used a form of torture. And Fodedor pressed him with heavy stones until he either pled or died.
They crushed him.
Yeah. He endured it for 2 days. His only words were, "More weight."
Oh my gosh, that's awful. His defiance? Incredible. But it shows you how brutal the trials were. Did his death change anything?
It did. It was a turning point. People started to see how horrific the trials had become.
They finally started questioning.
Yeah. More and more people were being accused, including some from prominent families. The use of spectral evidence, it didn't hold up. People started realizing the accusations were out of control.
So the fear, the very thing that started it, it also helped end it.
In a way, yes. By the fall of 1692, the governor stepped in. He disbanded the special court for witchcraft and he banned spectral evidence.
It's hard to believe something like spectral evidence, so subjective, could hold so much power.
It shows you the power of fear, of groupthink. When panic takes over, it's hard to think clearly. You just want to blame someone, anyone.
And it can happen anywhere, anytime. We see it today, right? Misinformation, fear-mongering.
Salem's a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
What happens when fear runs unchecked?
So the trials ended, the accusations stopped, but Salem, did it ever really recover?
That's a tough question. Even after it was over, the accusations lingered. The stigma, people who were accused, even if they were found innocent, their reputations were tarnished.
Like a stain that couldn't be washed away.
Exactly. And for families of those executed, the pain, the injustice, knowing their loved ones were innocent, think of that grief, that anger. Exactly. And for families of those executed, the pain, the injustice, knowing their loved ones were innocent, think of that grief, that anger.
It's just awful. Was there ever any attempt to make things right? To acknowledge what happened?
There was. Eventually. Years later, people started to see the injustice. Some of the judges even apologized publicly.
Wow. To admit they were wrong? That's huge.
It was. It shows you how deeply it affected everyone. And in 1711, the Massachusetts General Court, they formally annulled many of the convictions.
So officially, they were no longer guilty.
Right. And they offered financial compensation to the families.
Of course, money couldn't erase the pain.
No. But it was a start, a way to acknowledge the wrong, to try to heal. So legally, the Salem witch trials were over. But
what about the people? Did they ever really recover?
That's the thing about trauma, isn't it? It leaves a mark.
A scar.
The trials became part of Salem's story. Passed down through generations.
A warning.
Yeah. About the dangers of mass hysteria, fear, suspicion. Salem rebuilt, of course. Life went on.
Yeah.
But the memory, it lingered.
Like a ghost story.
Exactly. So why do we still talk about Salem? All these centuries later, why does it still fascinate us?
Good question. What do you think?
I think it's because the things that drove the trials, the fear, the scapegoating, the need for easy answers, those things are still with us.
We see it all the time, don't we?
We demonize people who are different. We spread rumors. We let fear control us. Salem shows us what can happen, even in a civilized society.
It can happen anywhere.
Exactly. It's a reminder that we're all capable of cruelty, of injustice.
So what can we learn from Salem? How can we avoid making the same mistakes?
We have to be critical thinkers, skeptical. Don't fall for easy answers. Don't blame others without proof. Question everything.
Stand up for what's right.
Yes. Even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, we have to protect the vulnerable, the marginalized. Make sure what happened in Salem never happens again. Because remember, it wasn't just about witchcraft.
What was it about then?
Power, control, using fear to silence people, to target those who are different.
A chilling thought. Thank you for taking us through this. It's been fascinating and a little unsettling, to be honest.
History should unsettle us sometimes. It should make us think.
It makes you realize we have to learn from the past, not just remember it.
Absolutely. The past isn't just a bunch of stories. It can guide us, help us build a better future.
Well said. And as we head into Halloween, maybe let's think about more than just ghosts and goblins. Let's remember Salem, and let's be more critical, more compassionate, more courageous. Thanks for listening, everyone. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and we'll see you next time.